Hi friends, this is the Miss Earth 2024 recap. I'm Dani. Thank you for joining me today. Quick update, I have recently updated my Rehearsed to Relatable personal branding interview course. You should check that out. I'm super excited. I just added a brand new module, which is my favorite one. It's all about mindset. So check it out. I'm gonna link it in the description. So let's get right into this recap. Yes, I was able to attend this show for the first time ever this year. So if you guys want to see a whole new perspective of it, then check out the vlog, which I'll link in the cards. So I have some very different thoughts because I was actually able to watch finals in person. First, let's talk about the venue itself. This is actually held in what is called the Cove, Manila. So this is the club actually that is in the Okada Manila Hotel, and let me tell you, this hotel is like a Vegas hotel on steroids. Everything is huge and grand. Best buffets I've ever had in my life. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. Also, this is the venue where they hosted the Miss Universe party in 2017, and shortly before that they opened up this venue. So this is actually a very, very massive venue, and I feel like literally the size of this building called the Cove, it actually kind of dwarfs the stage. So you can't really even have a full appreciation for what this actually looked like unless you were there in person. But I will say that they had a really, really strong opening for this show. I love the entertainers, love the music. It was so fun to go in person. Cool thing that I learned is when you get there, they actually have a cocktail bar in the back, and if you get VIP tickets, then you have access to this food buffet before the show. So that's really, really fun. I mean, I love food, so that was a big highlight for me, and I haven't experienced this at any other pageant. So honestly, if you can ever go to this pageant, go, because it's so much fun in person. Like I said, I love the dancers. I love the contestants on stage. In the dance, I thought it was so fun. It's so high energy when you're actually there. And the other thing I want to mention is the host of the show. I thought he did an excellent job. He has a really great hosting voice and stage presence, and I felt like he really kept his energy high the entire time. So loved him. After the ladies came out for their dance, we went into the announcement of the top 20, and what I really liked about this is we actually got to see right then and there a parade of evening gowns. This was cool because some of the gowns that we saw were not preliminary gowns, or they weren't final gowns. So it was really cool to give the contestants another opportunity to wear a different gown if they chose to do so. So this was fantastic, and let me tell you, there were a few gowns that were absolutely incredible in person. And the thing about recorded shows is that there's a lot on camera that it never does the gown justice or the performance justice. Brazil's gown was amazing on stage, and I also vividly remember Russia's gown on stage. The way that it shined was incredible. After their gown parade, then we got to see the semi-finalists walk for swim, and what was interesting is they were basically all following the same routine, which was kind of cool. Not everybody is going to perform the same routine exactly the same, but it kind of leveled the playing field for the ladies, and I thought that it did a good job of showing every angle. And then I also really liked their camera angles, which obviously, since I was watching live, I didn't get to appreciate those. So they did these kind of 360 sort of shots around the contestants, and I thought that that was really great. I'm going to share with you my favorite performances that are a combination of what I liked watching it back and then also what stood out live and in person. So Australia, for me, first and foremost, so beautiful. She was incredibly confident. She was very calm on stage. She just had such a relaxed energy to her. She has a great walk as well, and I feel like she was nailing all of her poses. USA, I have to say, she has worked so much. If you watched my recap of Miss Earth USA, you will see a difference in her performance, and I really appreciated that about her. The other thing about her is people compare her to Catriona. You know, it doesn't hurt that she is also a Filipina American, so you see a little bit of those influences. She also trained with Filipinos for her pageant prep for Miss Earth, and so I feel like you can really see that styling coming through. I thought that the walk was fantastic, and she does kind of remind me of like a mini Catriona in a way. Russia honestly surprised me for Earth. I feel like her performance here was quite sexy, so it reminded me a bit of Miss Grand International. I feel like this performance is right in alignment with Miss Grand International performances, so actually when she moved on, I was surprised, although I still felt like she had a good performance. Mauritius was one of my personal favorites. Her skin, the hair, the face, all of it, the way that she carried herself, I definitely would have been advancing her if I was a judge. She was one of my top picks. Philippines is so beautiful, and I feel like she's even more beautiful in person and up close. I got to see her before finals night just around the hotel. I believe that there's a clip of her in my vlog actually, so you can go check that out. And I think that she is very naturally beautiful, meaning she just does not need a lot of makeup, and honestly, the more makeup you put on her, I don't feel like it enhances her beauty. So I would like to have seen less makeup on her, or makeup that isn't quite as dark actually, because usually stage makeup, we're still wearing a lot of it, and then also a different hairstyle for her. I don't think that she needed that much length or volume. Miss Iceland actually competed at Miss Universe, so you might have recognized her. Maybe you didn't, but she did compete before. So I feel like that stage experience really helped her. She was absolutely stunning on stage. In fact, I feel like in person, you could really appreciate her beauty. And then when I watched this back, I was kind of like, wow, I can't believe how much more I felt her when she was on stage in person, and I think if I had only watched this online, I would have had a different opinion. Puerto Rico is a very big fan fave, and no wonder. I feel like she really met expectation. Miss Earth is tough. Any pageant is tough when you compete internationally, and sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't, but I really liked her here in swim, and I would have been advancing her. Cabo Verde is only 18 years old, so when I saw her in the swimsuit competition really holding her own here with some kind of pageant veterans, I was very impressed by her. I thought she had beautiful posing transitions. Everything was so clean and crisp on stage. I was a big fan. Peru, I have to say I loved her the moment that I saw the contestants step out on stage before they announced the top 20. She was such a standout in the entire group, and so I was fully expecting her to move forward, and of course she also has great performances as well, but I was a big fan of her at the show. Namibia was just so beautiful. Oh my gosh, her face on stage, she's glowing. She was just so stunning. After the top 20, we narrowed it down to a top 12, and they competed in the evening gown competition. So let me tell you about the performances that stood out for me. Iceland's gown seemed to be inspired by a Bob Mackie creation that we've seen Cher wear in the past. I'm a really big fan of Bob Mackie, so when I saw this evening gown style, I loved it on her. I didn't really feel like it fits the Miss Earth organization or the look of a Miss Earth title holder, but I still love the gown, and it also really enhanced her body. I feel like it made her look incredible. At the end of her routine, you'll see that she wobbles a little bit, but one thing about her is that you did not really notice it in her face. So when you're live and in person, when you have a connection with a contestant who has really great eye contact, a lot of the times you're not even gonna notice those little things. Puerto Rico. So I remember that after the gown competition for her, when I was trying to think back about the contestants that stood out to me, I missed her. Like I forgot. I feel like she just got lost in the mix. But then when I went back and I watched it, I was thinking, I love this gown on her. This gown is amazing, but I'm telling you, on stage, it did not translate the same way that it translates online. So somehow she really got lost in the mix, although if you look at her here, I think that she did an outstanding job. I loved this. Mauritius, once again, still a big favorite here for me personally. I love this styling. I love the top of the gown. Her hair is so beautiful. It looks like she got a fresh blowout. It's just like soft and shiny. She just looks incredible in this, and I really liked how she carried herself. I would love to have seen her move on. Namibia, if you notice, somebody kind of fluffed her gown when she walked out. I don't know who did that, but I'm a big fan of you. I love that type of help and assistance for the contestants. So she is so beautiful on stage. I do feel like this shade of green, though, it is a little bit too dark. I feel like she needed a brighter tone to really pop and contrast, make her stand out, make her a little bit more memorable. I think that the design itself was really safe, and it's just like, once again, I feel like she kind of got lost in the mix, and I feel like a gown style that would have looked a little bit brighter on stage would have done better for her, because she is so gorgeous. Let me just say, first and foremost, I was like, what is Australia doing when she first walked out on stage? This was giving me Cinderella's fairy godmother. That is what this look was for me. And I knew it had to be part of a reveal, but I was like, please just take it off as fast as possible. This is going on for too long. Now, once she revealed it, I was like, oh my gosh, this gown is stunning. She went from the fairy godmother to Cinderella in a second. So I totally get the choice for this gown. It perfectly complemented her eye color, and then the earrings that she wore matched the stones on the gown, which matched her eyes, and it just really stood out. Her skin was glowing. She reminds me of a lot of other Australian representatives. I feel like they're always these beautiful, cool girls that are glowing with kind of sun-kissed hair all the time. So I absolutely loved her for this, and I thought that she did an outstanding outstanding job for gown. Fun fact, USA's gown was actually worn by another Filipino candidate in the past. I really love this for the Earth competition because I love that we're sending a message about sustainable fashion and clothing while she's wearing this gown. I thought it was fantastic and a really smart choice. The other thing I like about this is that we have blue and green woven into the dress, very popular colors for Earth, yes, but then the rest of the dress is gold, and then there's movement added to it because of the fringe. So we can see she worked a lot on this walk. Once again, we're kind of seeing that Catriona inspired performance here. I thought she looked absolutely beautiful, and let me tell you, the crowd was loving her, and it makes so much sense so too. Being Filipina American, she did have a lot of Filipinos in the crowd cheering for her. The shine of Russia's gown was just out of this world. It was something else. You can't even appreciate it in the footage of it. But the thing for me when I saw this is because there was such a great reflection of all of the stones, it had the appearance from the audience that she was wearing nothing on stage but a bra and a mini skirt. So I just didn't see that look really moving forward for Earth. I feel like this look would have made a lot more sense for Grand International, but she was so beautiful on stage. Once again, we're seeing another gown reveal, and this time it's coming from the Philippines. I think that the green of the gown made sense. We see it a lot, but I did not love this style for evening gown, and I don't feel like the hair and the makeup complemented. I think that the performance was there, but there was just so much going on here, and I feel like she just needed different styling overall. Cabo Verde was very beautiful on stage. Another lovely performance from her. This is a really pretty gown on her. The one thing about her makeup though is that I wish that it would have been a little bit more defined. I feel like it was falling flat from below the eyes. So she kind of needed, I'm not a makeup artist, but I think just a little bit more, maybe more definition, maybe a little bit more contour. I think that maybe even a lip shade that was a little bit darker would have helped to make her stand out a little bit more on stage. Peru, I loved this. I love the evening gown. The one thing I wish though is that whatever chiffon pieces that they had attached to the gown, I wish that they were made of a lighter density so that when she walked they would catch the air better. I do think it probably would have helped if they were a little bit longer, so then they could have pooled on the ground when she was standing. I think that would have been beautiful, but like I said at the beginning of the show, she was already standing out for me, so I could really see her advancing into a top 4 easily. Now we're cutting to the top 8. The top 8 each draw a word, and then they get to speak on that word, and it's such an interesting challenge every year because it's like, what do you even do with this random word? So I want to talk about the answers that stood out to me. USA's word was family, and she was so clever with this when she even tied in the theme of this year's pageant, which is heritage, into her answer. I thought that that was so clever. The audience absolutely loved it, and she kind of just gave this overall message of we're all family. So it was beautiful. Peru's word was war, and I was like, oh, that's such a tough word. And I thought that it was really great what she said. She talked about that humanity has been destroyed by war and we are oftentimes divided, and that we should always seek to be unified. So I feel like she gave just this overall beautiful message there. It wasn't necessarily the most unique answer, but she did a really great job delivering this. And like I said, she was already such a standout for me. I felt so bad for Australia because she lost her voice, and so she was quite soft-spoken during the show, but she still did a fantastic job with this. Her word was popularity. And when I heard that, I was like, what in the world is she going to say about popularity? She was very clever. She connected this to her advocacy, and she talked about trending, and when people try to be popular, when we try to fit in and to be more like celebrities, that we also often are contributing to things like fast fashion, which is the main contributor to climate change. And she said if each of us could care less about popularity and stay true to ourselves and to our own beauty, that she believes we can help the earth. And I feel like these are the perfect types of answers that will help to push you forward in this competition or others where they have similar rounds. Finding a way to connect this word to the organization or connect this word to something important about you or to your advocacy. Very smart here. Iceland's word was Gen Z, and once again, very smart, intelligent answer here. She talked about Gen Z being our younger generation and that it's important that we can inspire them to help keep the earth healthy, we need to start by educating Gen Z to share with them that sustainability can be fun and effective. And I feel like she really won over the audience with this one. She spoke so confidently, and it was overall a great answer of substance. I want to talk about Russia's answer as well. She actually used a translator, and here's where I kind of think things went wrong for her. I really feel like she was right outside of that top 4, because when I heard the translation of her answer, I felt like it probably was a pretty good answer, and it probably sounded a little bit different in Russian. But I think the issue is that she shared her entire answer to completion, and then she waited for the translator to translate it. So I feel like the translator was having a little bit of difficulty making sure that the translator didn't miss anything in her answer. I think that she should have said half of it, paused, got the translation, and then stated the other half. So her word was money. She said that money is important, but it's not as important as being a human with responsibility for future generations and the heritage that we owe to next generations. And I just feel like things got a little lost in translation. Other thing I want to mention, if you watch this show online, there's lots of contestant videos, lots of sponsorship videos throughout this show, but let me just tell you, when you're there live and in person, you're not even thinking about those things. You're really excited that you have a little bit of a break to relax. You can go use the restroom. You can go grab yourself another drink. You can eat a little bit. So it's actually really nice when you're there in person. So highly recommend going if you can. Quickly, I'll say that if you aren't familiar with Earth, they have an elemental court, so the top 4 actually receive elemental titles, and they serve their year of reign as well alongside the new Miss Earth. And so we actually got to see a farewell as well from all of our 4 elemental queens, and we got to see a little bit of their year and the work that they contributed to their advocacies, which is really beautiful. They all looked stunning in their gowns, and I really loved our outgoing Miss Earth's evening gown as well. What did you think of it? I heard that there was some mixed views on this gown, but I loved the shoulders and the basque waist and the skirt of it. Just, it was fabulous to me. Now they announced the top 4, which were Iceland, Australia, Peru, and USA, and these were easily my top 4. When I heard those announcements, I said yes. I felt like the performances correlated to those placements and how they moved forward. Now the top 4 all got the same question, so they put on headphones and Iceland went first. The question was, how can you promote old traditions in a world obsessed with modern technology? Here's what she said. Iceland's answer was essentially education. Education of younger generations about old ways in the world that we should re-adopt again. She talked about Iceland having harsh winters, and we need to learn to use and respect our resources. And she says that she's so proud that Iceland is doing that and teaching younger generations. And then she says, thank you. At her core, she is saying that we should educate others about old traditions in this world obsessed with modern technology. Remember that, because we're going to come back to it. Then Australia. I thought this was really smart as well. She shared about her education and how she has been majoring in creative writing and publishing and using modern technology, such as social media, to share about environmental sustainability. And she also talks about the use of storytelling, specifically in her country, Australia, and how that's been effective for generations, and that she believes we can use modern technology and mediums such as journalism to share these old traditions. So remember, at the core of her answer, she said that we should be using social media to preserve these old traditions. Now we have Peru, and she talked about her ancestors having traditions that were deeply rooted and connected with Mother Earth. She said that she would love to use technology to promote these old traditions so that we can teach new generations. So once again, at the core, her answer is that we should be using social media to teach these older traditions. USA. The crowd loved this answer, but let's get into it. She said that earlier she had mentioned that she is from a nation of immigrants. However, the first people of her country were indigenous people who said, we don't inherit the world from our ancestors, rather we borrow it from our children. And I think if we return to natural modes of production, understand the value of nature rather than continuously push forward with technology, we would understand that features like peatland actually conserve 30% of the world's carbon. Our planet and its ecosystems are the most effective way to protect our planet from global warming. Now, she talked about using these ecosystems, and I feel like she made a lot of really great points in this answer, but some people were saying online that she didn't actually answer the question. I am inclined to agree with them, because if you looked at everybody else's answers, Peru talked about using social media. Australia talked about using social media as well. And then Iceland says that we should be sharing about these old traditions through education. So I think if USA had just threw into that answer that she feels that we should be educating the younger generations, and then she would have included all of this information, that this could have affected her placement. But I will tell you, when you're there and live in the audience was still loving this answer. I loved her entire performance, and I was still just proud, of course, of USA for placing in the top 4. Now, I've heard people say that Earth says that they don't technically crown runners up, right? We don't hear about a third, fourth, first, all of that. So instead they announced their elemental titles, but I do still feel like the announcement of the elemental titles does sort of signify a ranking or a placement. Here are the results. Our first announcement was for the Miss Earth Fire title, and that went to Peru. USA was awarded as Miss Earth Water. Iceland was Miss Earth Air, so she was in that top 2, and Australia is Miss Earth 2024. I felt like this was such a great competition. I've watched Miss Earth in the past, and sometimes I've seen the results and I've been like, I totally get how the judges came to that conclusion, but I just feel like when you really look back and evaluate their performances, that the performances were directly correlating with the results and the placements. I feel like it was very fair. So I loved this edition of the pageant. Please check out my vlog if you want to see how this looked live and in person, and if that's something that hopefully will influence you to go in the future, I'd be excited to hear about that. Let me know if you plan on going. But thank you for tuning into this episode, and I hope to see you at the next.